As the 1990s were to move on, so was Pantera after the success of their breakthrough album Cowboys From Hell. In fact, it's caused a whole shift of philosophy where the band tended to abandon the first four albums that they had produced and made in the 1980s. It really had a different guise to it. It was more of a power metal type thing in sort of a glam style. It actually suits more of the glam style, but some people will call it power metal. It really just depends on who you talk to. It's a very strange color-coded philosophy, so to speak. However, after their breakthrough hit, they needed to kind of follow up this album. And an interesting part about this is that even to this day, even the second album after they had abandoned the 1980s Pantera, Dimebag Darrell was still known as Diamond Darrell on this particular release. And of course, that release is called Vulgar Display of Power. Now, Vulgar Display of Power is an aggressive rip fest, basically from front to back. There's a lot of things about this album that make it truly unique amongst the discography. However, it's something that also established Pantera as a band that was here to stay. They weren't somebody that was going to be a one-trick pony, so to speak, with Cowboys From Hell and Cemetery of Gates being breakout hits that would be only maybe two-hit wonders, so to speak. And it's especially prevalent on Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power because of their signature song. This is the song that you hear the most often on the radio, not to mention the song that you often hear covered the most by bands such as Avenged Sevenfold. And that, of course, is the song Walk. Walk is an aggressive song. It was used in ECW, the Extreme Championship Wrestling Federation. Not to mention it was also something that has been, as I said, covered multiple times. The song that everybody knows and everybody loves from this particular band. However, there's other tracks on this particular album that make it something special. This Love is another one of the tracks that I love to mention, considering if you play through the game Doom, there's a level where the song that you hear in the background is almost like a 16-bit version of This Love, which is really kind of a cool experience. There's been many people that have documented this. This is not something that's relatively new. It really isn't something that is any new breakthrough. However, it is something that I find interesting because it shows the effect that bands like Pantera and metal had in the philosophy of the early first-person shooters from the 1990s, especially those that were handled by ID Software. Doom was one that featured multiple metal songs within the game itself. However, another song that I like to often mention is the last song on this particular album, which is entitled Hollow. Many people could consider Hollow to be the Cemetery Gates of this particular album, only it doesn't have the same lasting power, the same haunting feel, or it wasn't a single whatsoever. However, this is a very good song. It was a very heart-written song. And if you take a look and examine the lyrics, you can definitely tell that they had lost a very, very close friend. Now, unfortunately, prior to press time, I could not tell you who that particular friend was. So if you have that information, that's something that you can provide to the fans and to coverkillernation. It's not so much that I didn't do my homework, it's just to the point where I could tell what the song was about, however, not whom. Hollow is a fantastic song. Now, the one thing that sort of strikes me on this album, besides the presence of fucking Hostile, which is the first track of theirs that features any sort of profanity in the title. This is, of course, something that would become more prevalent in albums such, or should I say in songs such as Yesterday Don't Mean Shit, Goddamn Electric, and Hellbound off of their very final release. There's also the fact that a lot of the tracks that you hear on this particular release really go kind of either unexplored or really something that you don't hear talked about all that much, such as A New Level, Mouth for War, or even Rise or No Good, Attack the Radical. These are all really, really strong songs, and it actually wraps the album as a positive, aggressive rip fest in a nice little bow of metal, and really just completes the package. This album was also very successful. However, it wouldn't achieve the success of its follow-up, which is going to be Far Beyond Driven. However, Vulgar Display of Power was definitely an album that many people sought after whenever it was released. Pantera definitely had established a hardcore fan base with the Cowboys From Hell that followed them onward and made their remaining albums to be really, their releases were more like events than anything else. Of course, with Far Beyond Driven, it was the first real metal album this side of the Black Album to debut at #1 on the charts, as well as The Great Southern Trendkill, which also was fairly decent on the charts, even though some people may consider it to be a moderately weak album. I actually, at most points, disagree with that. It's only whenever you go to Reinventing the Steel that you actually see any sort of quote-unquote failure amongst the band, and you could definitely tell that was going to happen due to the turmoil, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Vulgar Display of Power, like Cowboys From Hell, is another essential metal release. This is one that many people will pick up because of the song Walk, or maybe even because of This Love, if they watch a video online making the comparison to Doom. I have no idea what just happened, but it scared the living bejesus out of me. Apparently someone's trying to brainwash me. However, Pantera, that's actually a very fitting metaphor, because songs like Walk and the like will brainwash you. They'll make you into Pantera fans and hopefully will lead you to explore metal even more. Once again, Pantera is kind of the perfect gateway drug, and this is yet another album that definitely proved that to be true. It's one that has lasting power that will last forever. It's one of those immortal albums that can't be touched. So once again, this is another album that's essential for your metal catalog, and if you don't have it, you definitely need to get it. Stay tuned. Next up is Far Beyond Driven, one of my favorite Pantera albums for many reasons that you will see very shortly.